to deal with it and to delegate that responsibility to Yvette Cooper, who's Home Secretary, to deal with it, and they are actioning that, and they are actioning the recommendations.
Well, they're not giving us a national inquiry, are they?
They don't need to, because inquiries have already happened. And as they've said repeatedly, inquiries have happened, the results and the recommendations need to be.
Do you know why they're not giving a national inquiry? Because they're more concerned, I'll say this because nobody else is going to say it, they're more concerned about the Labour Party's support among Muslim communities than they are about the girls who are abused, trafficked and abused. That's why they won't commit to a national inquiry.
That's quite a claim for which you have no evidence at all.
No, well, it's pretty obvious. Jess Phillips, among others, almost lost their seat because of Muslim voters rebelling against the Labour Party.
Jess Phillips has given her, a significant chunk of her career and her life to action against violence against women of all kinds. And it is worth mentioning that the vast, vast majority of sexual violence and violence against women is perpetrated by white men, not by many of.
If somewhere something is happening more, does it justify that I can do it less because I'm different? Because if that is true, as a person that is doing it less, don't you think you're kind of incentivizing me that I have more freedom to accidentally do it because nobody's going to call me out? I think inquiry should be applied to everybody.
Now that is exactly the mentality as to why Labour are not committing to the national inquiry. Organised gang-based sexual exploitation is overwhelmingly more likely among Pakistani Muslim gangs. That's an empirical fact. It's in all of the reports. Labour, politicians, activists and advisors like yourself, have to accept, and we can all see it through gritted teeth, that actually this is a problem in predominantly Pakistani Muslim communities. If Labour was serious about the issue, you would come out and say, right, we need to get everything out into the open. We need a national inquiry. I want a name and shame. I want to know what's going on in Bradford, Rotherham, Rochdale, Peterborough.
I am convinced that Labour is serious about dealing with this than that Yvette Cooper and the Home Secretary and the Home Office is.
Right, let me ask you this on behalf of some of my viewers, because I know they'll be shouting this at the screens. You just referenced then that statistic, which is accurate. 85% of paedophiles, child abusers, disgusting people are white. No one disputes that. But that's not what we're talking about. And what I wonder is, have you read things like the transcripts, the sentencing transcripts of these gangs?
I haven't.
Let me understand this correctly. You're defending Labour. You don't want more inquiry. But when I ask you, while defending Labour, did you read the transcript why this is happening and why this case is rather bad? You're like, no, I don't need to read it because I know Labour cares about women. But we don't need to do an inquiry because we keep finding the same information. I'm going to look very iffy in your direction.
Transcripts. Why haven't you availed yourself of that information? Because this is very publicly available. It's been circulated more than wildfire at the moment.
It's not my job to deal with that issue.
Well, can I make a suggestion, a respectful suggestion to you? And I'm going to make this to anyone else that wants to, pipe up about this 85% statistic, which is accurate. I'm not disputing that statistic. There is a fundamental difference, and you're all disgusting, by the way, whichever creed or nationality or skin colour or belief set you've got. If you abuse and touch children sexually, you disgust me. You make my skin crawl. Notwithstanding any of that, there is a complete difference. It is a completely different set of crime when grown men are basically scouring the streets to look for girls, predominantly based on their skin colour, based on a lack of respect for that skin colour, and torturing them. If you have read these transcripts, and I implore all of you, if you haven't looked at them, you must read these transcripts, because when you read these transcripts and you see what these men, these disgusting creatures did to these little girls, you won't ever, in these conversations, again, I don't think, 10 round when we're discussing this and say, yeah, but most paedophiles, 85% are white, because you will know that this is a completely different set of, it's a kettle of fish that is so different. These men, these creatures, disgusting, they were torturing these girls. They were doing the most horrific things to them, sometimes not just to the point of death, but over that line.
In other words, if I read the transcript and post it online, there's a great possibility that it will be removed. That's how bad it is.
That point of death. So please, Mike, everyone, read these transcripts, and then I'll ask you about them again when you have, and I bet my bottom dollar you will also see what we're talking about. This is a very different thing, and I would say it absolutely does need a national inquiry. We need to understand the scope and scale of what this is, where this is, who is still doing it, because it will still be happening, believe you me, and get it sorted out. Stop saying mistakes will happen. They've already happened. What you need to do now is understand it, be honest about it, and stop it happening now and in the future.
And the reason everybody is looking at this, because you don't have to be a conservative or a left-leaning person to understand, hey, this is just a little wild information. And Elon Musk just tweeted about this, like, yo, what the heck is happening in UK?
Are you saying that as a result of some of Musk's tweets, that the threat? Are you saying that as a result of some of Musk's tweets, that the threat to you has gone up, and things are in place to protect your safety?
Yes.
How does that make you feel?
Resigned to the lot in life that you get as a woman who fights violence against women and girls. I've learnt that it's ups and downs in my life, but what it makes me know is that I have to just keep on going.
I think most people just have one question. Why did you block the inquiry? Because these days, even as a father or a mother, if you disagree, you try to go to these places where they might abusing your daughter, they might have drugged her, whatever. Even if you assume it's happening, going there, they just call the police and you'll get arrested. Not because you want to investigate and help your daughter. Nay, because they just assume immediately it's a phobia action. And even Keir Starmer believes the same idea, the Prime Minister.
And when politicians, and I mean politicians, who sat in government for many years, are casual about honesty, decency, truth and the rule of law, calling for inquiries because they want to jump on a bandwagon of the far right, then that affects politics.
If you would have told me 10 years ago that inquiring about stuff for the safety of women is jumping on a bandwagon, I would look iffy in your direction.
I respect Sammy very much, I've got to say. She's a very brave woman, especially given what she's been through. When she says that she feels like she and people like her have been sacrificed for votes, do you share that sentiment, Ben?
I'm sure. I'm sure that they're being sacrificed for votes, and we see it increasingly as the ethnicity of the United Kingdom changes. The agenda put forward by various parties and representatives of those parties standing for election changes. It's a component of democracy, isn't it? That as a specific minority grows, you'll pander to that minority. And that's one of the other problems that we've got in the United Kingdom, a re-emergence of sectarian politics. We'd successfully got rid of it, and now it's back with a vengeance, and back with the protective blanket, as I say, of the legislative framework, which progressively discriminates in favour of these minorities.
I would say the whole idea that you have a protective blanket on some people, and for some odd reason, these same people are the people that vote for you. It doesn't matter if you're a minority or not. That is that's bad. That's very bad. And it makes sense why you don't want an inquiry into the people, especially your own people that voted for you, because there's a conflict of interest.
I just want to correct Scarlett on one statistic. One of my advisors has texted me, and he said that if you look at paedophilia on an individual basis, it breaks down roughly the way you described it, Scarlett, with the 85% of the white population in this country committing 85% of the crimes. But if you look at gang rapes of girls, which is actually what we're talking about,
crime, yeah.
It's 85% British Pakistani ethnic background, 85%.
But I do think that any
that's
sort
what we're
of
talking
child
about.
sexual exploitation is wrong.
Have you read the excerpts of any of these cases?
No, I
Somebody experienced a bad thing. It's very bad. Another experienced a bad thing multiple times, gang related, and they don't see the difference. And when I tell them this is a little more better than you think, read the transcript so you can see the difference, they're defending, well, I didn't read it, but 85% is happening over there, so I'm going to focus my eyes over there. I don't know. It doesn't give me the feeling that you really care about the thing that you're defending. You just want to be right and keep your votes.
Don't get me wrong, ako sa kita bong Puta fire na mi blonde kush hash purple skunk Criollo colombici jam jam turlo Queta verdeta welcome